Welcome to the Art and Science of Joy podcast. This podcast is all about inspiring people to live more joyfully. So if you're seeking a bit more joy in your own life, or seeking to bring others to you, and welcome to the Year of Joy series, in which I talk to experts on special powers, which we call joy superpowers, that each and every one of us can cultivate in order to build more joy into our lives. I'm Andrew Cannon, and I have the honor to be your host. And in this episode, I'm excited to be talking with Michael Amster about the joy superpower of awe. Michael is a San Francisco Bay Area-based physician and faculty member, Touro School of Medicine. As a pain management specialist, Michael is keenly aware of the integration of mind, body, and spirit, and the effects of physical and psychospiritual pain on health and well-being. Michael is a student of meditation for over 30 years, as well as a certified yoga teacher and meditation teacher trained at Spiritual Meditation Center. Michael is also founder of an organization dedicated to healthcare professional wellness. Michael is co-author of the book, The Power of Awe, Overcome Burnout and Anxiety, Ease Chronic Pain, and Find Clarity and Purpose in less than 1 minute per day. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm just so thrilled to be here to get to spend some time with you and your community of listeners, and to hopefully have some extraordinary and ordinary moments of awe together today.
I'm looking forward to it very much. And talking of awe, let's start with a definition. How do you define this word awe? It's a little word, but I'm sure it's got a big meaning.
Sure. When most people think about a moment of awe, they think of something pretty extraordinary, right? Like maybe they're looking out at an incredible view at a national park, like Yosemite or the Grand Canyon, an incredible sunset, or maybe witnessing the birth of a child, or being there at the passing of a loved one at the end of someone's life. So awe is an emotional experience in which we sense being in the presence of something that transcends our normal perception of the world. Scientifically, when we think about awe, it's defined as an emotional experience in which we experience vastness. We feel connected to something greater than our smaller self. And there's that shift of consciousness that happens. We're like kind of, in awe. We're blown away with the beauty. And what's really special about the work we're doing and what our book, The Power of Awe, is focused on is about how to find sustainable awe moments in the ordinary times of our lives, opening our vision, our ears, our senses, our minds to experience the beauty, the wonder, the amazement of everything around us all the time. So we don't have to go travel anywhere. We can have a moment of awe right now while we're in conversation doing this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's super important, because really, it's easy to understand that standing there on the rim of the Grand Canyon and looking out at the sunrise or the sunset and being in awe in those moments, it super hits you hard, right? But as you say, we can't have those moments that often in our lives. So the ability to find awe in the ordinary and in the general seems super exciting for me. So
yeah, exactly. I've been down the Grand Canyon. I'm a river rafting guide, and I've been down the canyon a few times. And yes, it's filled with so much extraordinary awe, but I'll have to tell you, I share the story in my book, that one of the most awe-inspiring moments was we participated on one of my trips in citizen science. So basically it means that our group signed up to do data research collection for the Park Service, and we were collecting bugs. And so at night we would come out with a special lamp that would attract the bugs, and we would capture them in a container and then log them, and they'd analyze the bugs later. But there was so much life on a microcosmic level that was just mind-blowing. I mean, that would actually gave me almost more awe than the extraordinary vastness of the Grand Canyon. So what's beautiful about this practice that we talk about in our book is that we open our eyes with that intention to see the wonder and beauty in everything around us. It is a game-changing experience. You start to live life in a radically different way. And the beauty is that we have the research to prove that this method works scientifically, both improving mental and physical health.
I am really looking forward for us digging into that in a moment. But before we do that, I'm super interested, and I know our listeners tend to be super interested in your own journey and how did you get from, where you started life to a place where awe is now your superpower and your position to share that gift with everybody. So if you share a few words about that, that'd be wonderful, mate.
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, I'm a medical doctor, and being a physician is something I wanted to do since I was a little boy. And as I went through my education, I started to develop test-taking anxiety. And I actually had a full-blown panic attack while taking the medical college admission test in my early 20s. And that experience where your mind completely gets hijacked by that flight, fight, freeze state. And I was at a turning point where I realized I either had to get on medication to manage my anxiety or to find some alternative way to work with my mind. And that was my gateway into studying mindfulness. And it completely changed the direction of my life. I been a student now for over 30 years, particularly in the Theravada Buddhist tradition. But I got trained as a mindfulness teacher. I've been teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction type of programs to hundreds of patients in chronic pain, and also have led a meditation sangha. And about 4 years ago, I had a conversation with my colleague, Jake Eagle, who's a psychotherapist in Hawaii. He also leads mindfulness retreats and programs. And we were both sharing how people really struggle with formal mindfulness practices. In our busy lives today, it's hard to find 20 minutes or even 10 minutes, even 5 minutes to just have that protected time to sit and meditate. And even people, once they maybe have the time, they're hard on themselves. They have a lot of self-criticism and judgment about how the practice is going for them. And so we were on this quest of figuring out a technique that would give people the benefits of a more longer sustained practice that they could access anytime, any place, anywhere. And we were thinking about what we initially called it was microdoses of mindfulness, or microdosing mindfulness. 15 seconds of focused concentration of a mindfulness experience. And through us having a conversation, and I flew out to Hawaii where Jake lives, we discovered what we now call the awe method. And it is this 15-second process of accessing pretty profound moments of awe just in the ordinary times of our lives. And when we do so, we shift our level of consciousness out of the ordinary state of being productive and dealing with all the various life stressors that we face moment to moment, to taking us to this temporary transcendent state that I think akins to what the Buddha would talk about of a state of nirvana, a place of profound peace, of calmness, of presence, of heightened awareness, a sense of connection, that non-dual experience that we talk about in the spiritual traditions of feeling connected to life, to the universe, to God, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's been a really phenomenal journey to now come to the place where we're now researching this scientifically in very large, robust clinical trials of teaching people this is a medical intervention, saying, hey, do this 3 times a day, and looking at it, and we know that it radically changes people's lives.
Wow, it's amazing. The research geek in me is now super excited. So for those of you who don't know my background, I spend most of my career researching people and trying to understand people's behavior and their minds. So the researcher in me is sort of super excited about, because 15 seconds sounds, it's, I don't know, it's just scrolling through a few headlines, right? It's everybody has 15 seconds 3 times a day, so nobody has an excuse to say I'm too busy for this.
Well, that's what I love about this, is that you can't say I'm too busy to spend 15 seconds. And it's nice to bring this practice into being at a red light. If you're driving, you can have a moment of awe, just standing there, sitting there at the light and looking out through your windows, and maybe noticing a bird fly by, or the clouds in the sky, or just being in awe of traffic lights. And that imagine a world without traffic lights, and how much ease and ability of commerce and connection that traffic lights give us as a source of awe. So really, awe is everywhere around us if we just take seconds to pause and to see it.
Yeah.
So about the research, I'm happy to give you the key headlines here. So
Yeah.
our studies are being published right now in scientific journals. One of them just came out a few weeks ago in one of the Nature journals called Scientific Reports. And this is our biggest study so far. We did two parts of the study. We enrolled approximately 200 healthcare professionals at the height of the pandemic that were dealing with burnout. These are doctors and nurses on the front line, and about 300 primary care patients that were struggling with anxiety, depression, loneliness, and a lot of stress at the height of the pandemic. This is back in June of 2020, long before we had a vaccine coming out. Here in the United States, where the study was commenced, we also were dealing with a lot of stress from these race riots going on, these George Floyd riots, and really difficult times with navigating that with President Trump and all that stuff. So we've taught people the 21-day program of learning this awe method. And we'll talk about the method a little bit later, but we asked people just to practice 3 times a day. And we did pre-post measures as well as daily diaries of people's experience. And what we found was a 36% reduction in depression symptoms, which is equal to that of taking an antidepressant or being involved with intensive psychotherapy. That just practicing this 3 times a day for 15 seconds gave people a very significant decrease in their depression levels. We saw a 24% reduction in anxiety levels. We saw decreases in burnout with healthcare professionals, so that they were able to feel more, focused on their job, less depleted, less exhausted. Also saw improvement in overall well-being. And another cool thing that I think is just fascinating is decreases in loneliness. We saw, just even though people were sheltering in place, they were home alone in the study, there was a 15% reduction in people's experience of loneliness. And that's what's something really amazing about the emotion of awe, is that it brings us a sense of connection to the vastness of all life. And we can be home alone and yet feel connected to something greater than the self.
I love that. I love that. This ties in so well with, our research on joy and finding, the importance both of that well-being, but also that sense of belonging. And, you can't always be with family, you can't always be with friends, but you can connect to this greater sense. And I think that's really wonderful that happens. And these things, you talked about the anxiety, the depression, the burnout, obviously huge, massive things during the pandemic amongst healthcare professionals, as well as obviously humanity more broadly. But even in today's world, when I talk to businesses and people at work and seeing stress people are under in a work environment, I can see lots of applications for this to help people deal with their challenges at work.
Yeah, I love teaching this work to other physicians and nurses and people involved in the healthcare arena. It's such a simple practice. I begin a patient visit with sharing an experience in a moment of awe with someone. In my clinic, we have windows in every exam room. We can look outside and see, the trees next to the building. That can be a source of awe. Looking more distant at the views of the mountains here. Again, opportunity for moments of awe. And then what I love about sharing awe with others is that awe is contagious, meaning that when you share a moment of awe with someone, you inspire awe in them. It's a beautiful thing. And it's a way of connecting with somebody. It brings us closer, a sense of intimacy, a bonding. On our website, thepowerofawe.com, we have what we call the Moment of Awe page, and people from all over the world can post their moments of awe, both in words and pictures, and you can be inspired by other people's moments of awe. It's a beautiful thing how when we share our awe, we are sharing joy with others. Awe is one of the, in my opinion, it's one of the ingredients for living a joyful life. is having that sense of wonder and beauty of connection to the vastness of everything around us. And that's what awe brings us.
I can definitely see that. Feeling. When you're talking about that, I started thinking about children. As I mentioned during the warm up to this, that one of the things we're working on is this emotional intelligence for children project EQ Joy, and related to that, we were talking about how children's development of emotional intelligence is so important, but I can equally see how awe could be so important. And I have a practice with my daughter where night we sort of talk about what was good during the day, and I'm thinking that, well, maybe if we switch that, mixed it up to talk about, well, what moments of awe did we have during the day? It's that moment before going to sleep at night. That could be quite a cool practice for parents and kids, for example, to do. So I don't know if you've done any work with children and awe.
Yeah, as I was sharing with you, we are hoping in a future study to help build a curriculum that's based upon awe for elementary school kids, and hoping to see how bringing awe back into the classroom will improve learning as well as decreasing teacher burnout. But I completely agree, and I've heard other people do this as well, because children are naturally wired to be in awe and in wonder. If you look at particularly younger children, they're in awe of everything around them. They're so open, they're so curious, there's so much in wonder, so much in awe, and they see the world differently than we do. They are constantly looking and seeing the beauty and the wonder in things. And it's sort of sad, but we lose it. We really lose our lens of awe as we grow up and we get older. And what I love about this awe method and what we have seen from our research studies is that you really can build a muscle of awe. You can intentionally, with a little bit of effort, it doesn't take much because we're just asking for 15 seconds of your time 3 times a day, but you do rewire your brain, you rewire your eyes, your ears, your touch, because you then begin to see the world around you with awe and wonder. And what we know from our research is the more you dose awe throughout the day, the more benefit you get. The more times you have a moment of awe, the more it will help you with your emotional well-being, the more it will help you with your physical well-being. We haven't even talked about the research out there, not my personal research, but my colleagues' research on how awe impacts our physical health. That research is so awe-inspiring. I mean, awe changes our immune system for the better. It changes decreases inflammation in the body, which these inflammatory cytokines, these are these small molecules that circulate in our bloodstream and cause damage to our organs, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, autoimmune disease. These are all related to a high level of inflammatory cytokines. And awe is the only positive emotion that has been proven to decrease inflammation in the body. And just mind-blowing, like how this very simple emotion that we can train ourselves and develop a muscle of awe will positively impact our health across a full spectrum of diseases.
It's only making me feel about the word awesome, which we throw around rather too glibly, perhaps, but it's certainly giving me a new perspective on, using this word with intention and finding awe. I'm going through a process at the moment where I'm very much trying to let my inner child out of the tower that I locked him in a long time ago to protect him from the big bad world all around him. And as part of that process, I can definitely feel these moments of awe increasing as I look at the world through the lens of this inner child rather than my adult ego. It really does. It's the same world. It's the same world, but you truly do see it differently, and it has all these positive benefits that you talked about. The physical one's amazing. I didn't know that, so that was cool to hear those benefits as well. I'm sure many of our listeners have either mental or physical or other challenges in their life, and it seems that having a daily dose of all 3 could well be of benefit.
Yeah, definitely a benefit. There, we know from our research with the hundreds of participants that there's no downside of practicing awe, no side effect.
And you can't
Unlike
overdose.
unlike many pharmaceuticals that will have a lot of potentials of harming us, there is no downside of practicing awe. And what I also love about this, I mean, we've talked a lot today about the personal practice of awe, but this is really, and we talk about this in our book and kind of a call to action, is that awe is more than just a personal practice. It's really about a practice, ultimately about changing the world, changing the level of consciousness. Because if you think about the big picture here, because when we share our awe with others, we really change the world. Just as though, a warm smile can change someone else's mood. You might see a stranger and they smile and they greet you with warmth and compassion. When you live in awe, you are exuding that out into the world, and it changes the people's lives around you. And if you think about these big problems we're facing right now globally, with climate change and the destruction of our planet, how can you be in awe of the natural world and destroy it? How can you not want to protect it and to conserve resources and to make choices that will keep the wild places beautiful and healthy and our environment thriving with life? How can you be in awe of others and appreciate cultures and different foods and clothing and languages and the way people talk and think about God or consciousness, and then kill each other? You can't. When we're in awe of humanity, we are experiencing love and connection and beauty and a desire for wholesomeness of connection and healing. So this emotion is so vital and important. And the beautiful thing is it's everywhere around us. Like, we just need to retrain ourselves to live, like you said, in that childlike wonder, your inner child. I love how you shared that, because I've never actually, I teach this all the time, but I haven't yet until today thought about that. What we're doing is we're like connecting back to our inner child. We all had this as children. We're all wired this way, but through our brain maturation development processes, also because of a complexity of our lives today with so many distractions with technology and everything, it's harder ever than before to find awe. And it's a beautiful practice. I highly encourage your listeners to you visit our website. We have a lot of free resources, a free ebook and stuff people can download. And for those that want a deeper dive, the book really gives you the container of a 21-day program to really help give people that sense of awe.
Yeah, I love that process, that even if it is, the sort of 3 times 15 seconds, we know creating new habits takes time. And, I don't know whether some people say 19 is the magic number, some say it's 20, some say it's 21, but it seems to generally be around that amount of repetitions that tends to start ingraining the practice. You have to do it for 2 to 3 weeks to really start feeling the benefits. One other thing, Michael, that came to my mind as you were talking was, because we recently did a live stream event on self-love. And when we were doing that, we sort of realized that, we're looking at research where, the majority of adults, especially women, were saying they don't find themselves attractive. They don't love themselves, basically. And I was wondering, and then one of the people on the show, I can't remember which show, I guess, said that each morning they start with being in awe of their bodies and being grateful for their feet, for the magic that they do, and for their touch and their sense of smell. And so taking this actually awe also in yourself and the amazing person that you are, I am, everybody is. So maybe it can also be sort of a self-love practice as well, to live in a state of awe about us as humans.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very important practice, is finding the awe within ourselves. it's endless. Like, as you were just sharing, you can be in awe of the fingers. Right now the listeners can just put their fingertips together and noticing the sensation of the ridges of your fingertips. And I'm a neuroscientist, but just thinking about, wow, the wiring that goes up through my nerve cells up into my brain, and then I have consciousness and the perception of that sensation. And of course, then you can bring in the whole element of gratitude that I have fingers, that I'm able to use them, and all the amazing things that they bring me and they gift me in my life. And so in our book, we talk about just sort of helping make people develop a practice of awe, is we talk about there being 3 categories to sort of help you compartmentalize in a way as you develop a practice. So one is awe of the senses. So, the taste, the smell, the feeling, the visual senses, the hearing, all of these can be a conduit to experiencing awe. We're just bringing our full undivided attention to that for 15 seconds. I mean, the practice is a little bit more complex, and we talk about that in our book and on our website. But and then the second is awe of interconnected awe. So awe that we can have with each other, with animals, with strangers, with people we love and care about. And then the third is awe of concepts, of conceptual awe. So when you're across the world for me right now, and I was seeing through your glasses the reflection out of a window and light coming in. And so I'm here in California, you're in Finland, and I'm looking out through my window, and the sky is lit by the same sun. Like, we're about, a third of the planet away from each other. And right now we're both being blessed by these photons from the sun that's 100 million miles away, that travels at the speed of light. Like, just how awesome is that? And we're on Zoom, and we're talking live to each other with no delay across the planet. I mean, those are all things that are just mind-blowing concepts that are, how can you not live in awe all the time when you just open your eyes and you see the world around us, the vastness of the universe and everything, and what we know from science. And you don't even have to be a scientist. You just got to open your eyes, and you can be mind blown with the beauty around us. We're on a little planet in the middle of our small solar system in a galaxy, surrounded by billions of galaxies. It's like, wow, there's so much to be in awe of, all the time.
It's amazing, isn't it? So there's no shortage of things to be in awe about. And what we've learned today is that getting this sport practice into your life is not you don't need a degree. You don't need to spend 4 years at university or need a PhD to be able to do this. There's certain things you shared today about, the senses, the environment, the concepts, to give people an idea of flavor. And what we're doing, obviously, in the show notes, we'll share the links to your resources, the website, and the book, so people can go and dig deeper into how there is. There any particular tip that you love yourself in terms of saying, right, you're going to do one thing or 2 things, these are the things that you love or you would recommend people to take on right away?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a really great tip to help people build a practice is what is called habit stacking. And then what that is you attach this new habit of awe to something you already do on a daily basis. So I begin my day with a cup of coffee, and I find that to be just an extremely rich awe experience, whether it's opening a bag and smelling the grounds, or watching the water boil and the steam rising. I use a French press, so getting to see the granules floating with all the water and the colors and the aroma, and then tasting and drinking it. I mean, the experience of making coffee every morning is a profound experience of awe for me. So if you drink juice in the morning or make a cup of tea or coffee, I mean, that's a great opportunity to have a moment of awe. And another great tip is you can use your phone or a watch, set an alarm to have moments of awe throughout your day. It's helpful. We know from our research at least 3 times a day is really the minimum to build your awe muscle. So meal times are another great time to have a moment of awe, like having that moment of pause, being in awe of the food around you that you're getting to consume, the flavors, turn off your device, really enjoy your food, be in awe of your food, eat it slowly, savor it, really taste it, enjoy it. Yeah, it's such a profound practice. I mean, I'm a multitasker extraordinaire. I used to, felt like I was one of the best multitaskers on the planet. I was proud of that. But what the beautiful thing about this awe practice has really changed my life in such a profound way, because I'm experiencing everything with much more richness and depth and connection that I never would have imagined was possible. So I hope those tips are helpful. Please feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening to this, they want any support. I know Jake and I, my co-author, we're really, we love connecting with people that hear about us on the podcast, of people that read the book. You can reach me at michael@thepowerofawe.com. And need any support with building a practice, I'm glad to help you out.
Fantastic. We will put that into the notes as well. So we could talk all day on this. I'm so in awe of this conversation. It really has been a pleasure to talk with you and to learn how simple actually it can be to use this superpower. So I'm really grateful for you coming on the show today, Michael. One last question before you go. We always like to ask our guests a simple question, which holds a multiple of sins, but it's called, what brings you joy?
Well, what brings me joy? It's two things. It's just living a life in awe and really finding the richness, the beauty, and the simplicity in these ordinary things. And I think it's sort of on the same coin, but on the other side, they share the same element, but it's gratitude, being grateful for all these things that I'm in awe of. Those are the two elements that I believe is the recipe for a life of sustainable, lifelong joy, is living in wonder and in beauty and in awe of everything around us, and then being grateful as well.
Well,
and I'm so grateful for this conversation today. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, really, really an honor to be here, to get to meet your community of listeners and to spend time with you, Andrew. And I know you have family out here in California, so please come visit me, and let's go for a walk here in the redwoods next time you're in town.
Man, definitely. I love those redwoods. Up there with the sequoia. I love both of them. Wonderful trees. Difficult to hug a sequoia, but at least you can get a little bit of touch on it.
Yeah, sure does.
Sure. We need a group hug to get around a sequoia. But anyway, Michael, it's been wonderful to have you on the show today, talking to you about the power of awe. And I hope you, our listeners, enjoyed this podcast episode as much as I have. And I hope you feel inspired to cultivate the power of awe. And if so, please check out the show notes for the links to Michael and his resources. If you're not already a member of the Year of Joy community, please visit our website, theartandscienceofjoy.com, to find out more and join. If you are a member of the community, get on there and share in the forum what brings you awe. What are your moments of awe? And I'm sure the members will love to be inspired by those. Thanks once again for listening, and I hope you tune in to the next episode of the Art and Science of Joy podcast. Until then, stay well, stay joyful, and be awesome.